So there was this guy, right? He was a young guy, and he had a bunch of ideas. He was living in a regime that was controlled militaristically as well as religiously. So his dad was, they were middle class. His dad was into woodworking and stuff like that. His mother was a stay-at-home mum. They were all cool and fantastic. And then what happened is, one day, his friend said, why don't you got these ideas, why don't you go out into the square where there's a bunch of philosophers, because there's a bunch of philosophers, all these ideas about life, the universe and everything. And he said, nah, I can't do that. He says, do it. He said, oh, okay. So he tried it and people liked what was going on. I think he was in his 20s. He kind of had a midlife crisis to an extent, and so he went out, like that, but he went out to the middle of nowhere by himself, look at his inner demons, find out who he was, and then he came back. And then he had this kind of philosophy all set up, very much like I hear Frank Zappa did the same thing. I heard that he can play any instruments. This is probably just a rumour. But then he went and lived in a cave for a while with a guitar. He taught himself about a guitar that came back and started the mother's invention. So this guy did a similar thing, but it was more philosophical. So he came back, and he went into the square and he was like, I've had these thoughts. You know, we've got this militaristic regime that's kind of taken over stuff. I know they're giving us a bunch of stuff, but in exchange, we don't have freedom. It doesn't make any sense. He wasn't being revolutionary or anything. He was just logic. He was like, that doesn't make any sense. If you say anything that they don't like, you can get arrested. And then the religious ones, they had a bunch of rules as well. Like, you understand about religions, but their rules as far as he was concerned were kind of stupid. Like, for instance, on the day of the week where everyone relaxes, you weren't allowed to do anything. And his point was, what happens if I'm hungry? You said, yeah, I can't do that. That didn't make any sense. To him, he was just confused about the whole thing. And a lot of people jumped onto the bandwagon and started listening to what he was saying. So he ended up with this crew of people. They understood and enjoyed what he was doing, and they realised it wasn't a revolutionary kind of thing. It was just a philosophy, it was just an idea. But the messages got back to the rulers, the head people in both the militaristic and the religious places, and they saw it as a threat. And so they were trying to find out who this guy is. And about this point, there was a bunch of people spouting out the same philosophy, followers of this guy. And so they said they didn't know who the ringleader was, and they really, really wanted to find out who the ringleader was. So they went up to the group of people and started talking to them, saying, hey, we can give you a bunch of money as an example. And everyone's like, nah, we're not interested. All you have to do is tell us who this guy is. We're not interested. Leave us alone. So they went through all of them, and then they found this one guy who was like, we'll give you more money than you've ever seen in your entire life. Because he really said, all you have to do is point him out. Give us a signal. We understand there's going to be a party at some point where everyone's going to be out on a park relaxing. We'll be there hiding. You go ahead and indicate who he is. We'll come in and we'll arrest him. We just want to find out who he is, and we just want to chat to him, basically. And so the guy's like, okay. So they give him a bunch of money. Couple of nights before the party in the park, the philosopher guy decided to have a party. And so they went into this restaurant. So they're all hanging out and stuff like that and having meals and stuff. And he says, I'm going to be oppressed. I'm going to be basically arrested. And then after that, they're going to torture me and kill me, I think. So this is kind of my goodbye thing. So I want you all to spread the message, if you want to. Give you some symbology, if that's a word. We're going to chat. We're going to drink some wine, eat some food and stuff like that. Answer any questions if you got, because again, I'm not going to be here. You're going to have to, carry the torch. So anyway, a few days later, they're having the party in the park, and Dee's been a bit solemn. Now, this is how it's got to be. I think it's a martyrdom, because if I just continue what I'm doing, only us are going to hear about it. What they're probably going to do is they're going to drag me through the streets and stuff, so everyone's going to see me, and then they're going to execute me in a very, very public fashion. So more people are going to see what's going on, and more people are going to say, why the hell did they kill him? And so it's probably going to kind of wake people up. So don't worry about it. It's going to be done. And then the guy that accepted the money came up and gave the sign that they'd agreed on. And suddenly all these police guys came out and mobbed everyone and arrested the head philosopher guy. So they took the head philosopher guy into a room with the religious leaders and the military leaders. So you're trying to overthrow our regime? And he was like, no. And he said, yes, you are. I said, no, not. Instead of oppressing people, why don't you help people advance? And he said, no, that means you're trying to overthrow. He said, no, I'm not trying to overthrow at all. And then the religious guy was saying, yeah, and you're doing the same thing. We've got a bunch of rules in place and you're trying to break them. And he said, no, I'm not trying to break them. It's just, they're hundreds, if not thousands of years old. We're now in a modern age. So it doesn't make sense that those rules should still apply. I'm not trying to overthrow you, I'm just saying, like, if you're a branch and you're stiff and the wind blows, you're going to break. Whereas if you're a piece of grass and when the wind blows, you're going to bend with the wind. So that's what I'm saying, is why I'm just bending with the wind. The religious guy and the military guy were really miffed at this point, and so they were trying to get a confession out of him. So they tied him to a piece of wood and basically beat the heck out of him. And they get beaten up, and he wouldn't confess. And so eventually, as he knew this would happen, they put him on public display. Now the intention was to show everyone, hey, if you've got any ideas like this guy to oppress the system, this is what's going to happen to you. He's going to be dragged through the street. As he's being dragged through the street, we're going to beat the heck out of him, and then we're going to execute him publicly. But what really happened is a lot of people saw this and said, why are they doing this to this guy? We know this guy's peaceful. All he does is he's a philosopher. So they dragged him through the street, beating him up as they did that. It was very, very public. A lot of people got to see it. They took him out to this place and then executed him very, very, very slowly. So then what happened is his followers, hey, we've got this message about being peaceful and loving, and then it became a philosophy that a lot of people followed. So the religious leaders and the military leaders, where they were thinking they were stopping some kind of revolution, as it were, accidentally they actually put the revolution in place. And you probably guessed who this guy is, but just in case you didn't, his name was Jesus. And look at the sky more often. Cheers, thank you. Oh, or something. No. Oh my goodness, I'm being swallowed by the camera. Oh!